After dropping my son at his career counseling session that Tuesday evening, I thought I was doing the right thing. I should have known something was wrong the moment Ryan asked me to pay for another month up front. I'm 63 years old, and I've seen a lot in my life. 35 years as a structural engineer in Melbourne taught me to spot cracks in foundations before they become catastrophic failures. But nothing prepared me for the cracks forming in my own family. My name is Graham Whitmore, and my son Ryan is 24. After my wife Patricia passed from breast cancer 4 years ago, it's been just the two of us in our home in Brighton. Ryan took his mother's death hard. He'd been close to finishing his computer science degree at Monash University when she died, but he never went back. For 3 years, he barely left his room, gaming online with people I never met, applying for jobs he never seemed to get interviews for. So when he told me 6 weeks ago that he'd found a career coach named Sienna Hart who was helping him get back on track, I was relieved. Finally, some progress. Finally, some hope. "She's brilliant, Dad," Ryan had said over dinner that night. "She specializes in helping people in tech who've had setbacks. She's got connections at Google, Microsoft, heaps of startups. She reckons she can have me placed within 3 months." "That's wonderful, son," I'd replied, perhaps too eagerly. "How much does this cost?" $1,500 a month. "But Dad, she's got a 90% placement rate. It's an investment." I wrote the check that night. Anything to see my boy happy again, to see him with purpose. Patricia would have wanted this. The sessions were twice a week, always at Sienna's office in South Yarra. Ryan started dressing better, became more animated at dinner, talked about networking strategies and personal branding. He even met a girl, Emma, who was apparently in one of Sienna's group coaching sessions. They'd been seeing each other for 3 weeks. "Emma's amazing, Dad. She's a digital marketing specialist. Just got back from working in Singapore. We're thinking about starting a consulting business together once I'm placed." I met Emma once, briefly, when she picked Ryan up for what he called a networking event. She was 26, polished, confident. She shook my hand firmly and called me Mr. Whitmore. Something about her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, but I dismissed it. I was being an overprotective father, surely. That Tuesday, Ryan asked me to drop him at Sienna's office. His car was getting serviced, he said. The office was in a sleek building on Chapel Street, all glass and steel. Ryan got out, clutching his leather portfolio. "This is a big session tonight, Dad. Sienna's introducing me to a recruiter from a major tech firm. Could be the breakthrough I need." "That's excellent, son. Ring me when you're done. I'll come fetch you. No worries." Should be about 2 hours. I watched him disappear into the building, then drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. My boy was coming back to life. I'd been home maybe 20 minutes, just settling in with the evening news, when my phone rang. It was Carmela Rodriguez, our housekeeper. Carmela had been with our family for 15 years, since before Patricia got sick. She'd stayed on after Patricia died, coming 3 times a week, more out of loyalty than necessity. She'd known Ryan since he was 9. "Mr. Graham." Her voice was tight, urgent. "You need to come home now." "Carmela, I am home. I'm in the lounge room." "No, you're not understanding me. I'm in your home office. Ryan is here. He's in your filing cabinet." My blood went cold. "What do you mean he's there? I just dropped him in South Yarra. I don't know how he got here. But he's going through your files. Your personal files, Mr. Graham. The ones with your bank statements, your super documents, everything. I came upstairs to check if you needed anything, and I heard him. He doesn't know I'm watching. Don't let him see you. I'm leaving now." I drove faster than I should have, my mind racing. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Sienna had canceled, and Ryan came home for something. But why not tell me? Why sneak into my office? I pulled into our driveway quietly, left the car on the street. The house was lit, looking normal from outside. I used my key carefully, slipped off my shoes in the entrance. Carmela appeared from the kitchen, her face drawn. She was 62, a grandmother of 5, and in that moment, she looked frightened. "He's still there," she whispered. "I heard the scanner running 5 minutes ago." The scanner. My heart hammered as I crept up the stairs. My home office was at the end of the hall, door slightly ajar. I could see the glow of my desk lamp. I pushed the door open. Ryan spun around, his face draining of color. He was standing at my filing cabinet, the locked one I kept my sensitive documents in. It was open. On my desk were stacks of papers: my passport, Patricia's death certificate, my superannuation statements, tax returns going back a decade. My scanner's green light was blinking. "Dad," his voice cracked. "This isn't what it looks like." "Then what is it, Ryan?" "Because it looks like my son, who's supposed to be at a career coaching session in South Yarra, is instead in my office, going through my private documents." He opened his mouth, closed it. His hands were shaking. "I can explain, then explain. Right now." He sat down heavily in my desk chair, put his head in his hands. When he looked up, tears were streaming down his face. Emma needed help. Her startup. She needed proof of backing, proof she had investors with assets. She asked me to get copies of your financial statements, just to show her partners. Nothing would happen with them, just for show, to prove legitimacy. It was supposed to help us, Dad. Help our business. The words hit me like a physical blow. "Emma asked you to steal my financial information?" "Not steal. Borrow. Just copies," she promised. "She promised what, Ryan? Do you hear yourself? This is identity theft. This is fraud." "No." He stood up, defensive now. "Emma's not like that. She's legitimate. She's trying to build something real. She needs to manipulate my son into compromising his father. That's what she needs. You don't understand. You don't know her like I do. She believes in me, Dad. She sees potential in me that no one else does." Carmela appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Graham, should I call the police?" Ryan's eyes went wide. "Dad, please, don't." "I'll put everything back." It was stupid. I know it was stupid. But please. I looked at my son, at the desperation in his eyes, and felt something break inside me. This wasn't just about stolen documents. This was about how far he'd fallen, how vulnerable he'd become. "Carmela, not yet. Ryan, you're going to tell me everything. Every single thing about Sienna, Hart, and Emma, from the beginning. And if I think you're lying to me even once, I'm ringing the police myself. Do you understand?" He nodded, collapsing back into the chair. Over the next 2 hours, the story came out in pieces. Sienna Hart had found Ryan through a Facebook group for young professionals dealing with anxiety and depression. She'd reached out privately, offered a free consultation. She seemed to understand everything Ryan was going through. The sessions were helpful at first, genuinely helpful. She taught him interview techniques, helped him revise his CV, built up his confidence. Then she introduced him to Emma at a networking mixer for her clients. Emma was charming, interested in Ryan, made him feel special. They started dating. Emma talked about starting a digital consulting firm, how they could be partners, build something together. She said if I could just get proof of your assets, nothing would be taken, just shown to potential partners to prove her business connections were real. She made it sound so simple, Dad. So harmless. And Sienna knew about this? Ryan hesitated. Emma said Sienna thought it was a smart move, that lots of entrepreneurs use their family connections this way. I felt sick. How many documents have you scanned? Tonight was the first time I actually got into the cabinet. I'd taken photos of some statements that were on your desk a few weeks ago, but I couldn't get the locked files until Emma got me this. He pulled out a small tool from his pocket. A lockpick kit. Emma gave you lockpicks. She said her brother's a locksmith. But Dad, I swear, nothing's been done with any of it. I can prove it. Look at my phone. The photos are all still here. I haven't sent them anywhere yet. Yet. The word hung in the air. Give me your phone. He handed it over without argument. I scrolled through his photos. Bank statements, Superfund documents, my passport, Patricia's death certificate, all dated within the last month. My hands were shaking. Carmela, I said quietly, would you make us some tea? And then I need to ask you something. She nodded and disappeared downstairs. I turned back to Ryan. How much have you paid, Sienna? $4,500 so far. 3 months, and you haven't found this suspicious? That in 3 months of career coaching, the only thing you've accomplished is stealing from your father? His face crumpled. When you say it like that, how else should I say it? Ryan, you're not stupid. You're educated. You're capable. What happened to you? I don't know, he whispered. After Mum died, I just felt so lost. And then Sienna made me feel like I could be someone again. Emma made me feel wanted. I just wanted to feel normal again, Dad. I wanted to feel like I had a future. Carmela returned with tea, set the tray down carefully. I took a cup, more for something to hold than because I wanted it. Carmela, you said you've been watching Ryan tonight. How long have you been here? I came at 4 o'clock, like always on Tuesdays. Ryan arrived home about an hour after you left, maybe 5:30. He went straight upstairs. I thought perhaps his session was canceled, but he didn't tell you he was here? No, Mr. Graham. I only knew because I heard footsteps above the kitchen. When I came to check, I saw him at the filing cabinet. I turned to Ryan. How did you get home from South Yarra so quickly? I never went to South Yarra. Emma dropped me around the corner, said she'd pick me up in 2 hours. The session with Sienna isn't until tomorrow night. I lied. Dad, I'm sorry. Emma said this was the best time because you'd be gone for a while. The calculated nature of it made my stomach turn. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned, coordinated. Carmela, you mentioned you've been with us 15 years. You knew my wife well. Miss Patricia was a wonderful woman. She treated me like family. Then as family. I need your honest opinion. Does this seem like a normal career coaching situation to you? Carmela's face darkened. Mr. Graham, if you want my honest opinion, this sounds like the thing that happened to my niece in Manila 10 years ago. A man convinced her he was helping her start a business. Got her to steal her mother's pension information. By the time we found out, her mother's account was empty. 70,000 pesos gone. The man was part of a syndicate. They targeted families through the children. The room went silent. Ryan, I said slowly, tell me about Sienna's office. Describe it to me. It's in that building on Chapel Street. 7th floor, Suite 712. Modern, minimalist. She shares it with a few other consultants. And you've been there? Inside the actual office? Well, mostly we meet in the conference room in the lobby. She says it's easier for clients. We don't have to come all the way up. But I've seen her office. Once, when I forgot my folder and had to go back. What's the name on the building directory for Suite 712? He paused. I don't remember. There are a lot of businesses. And Emma's company, what's it called? Catalyst Digital Solutions. But it's still in formation, so it doesn't have an official office yet. I pulled out my phone and searched the Australian Securities and Investments Commission's company register. Nothing for Catalyst Digital Solutions. I searched for Sienna Hart, career coach Melbourne, Nothing legitimate came up. Just a Facebook page with stock photos and generic testimonials. Ryan. I don't think Sienna Hart is a career coach. And I don't think Emma is starting a legitimate business. Dad, no. You're wrong. They're real. I've met them. I've paid for actual services. You've paid $4,500 for someone to manipulate you into committing crimes. That's what you've paid for. Carmela spoke up quietly. Mr. Graham, with your permission, I have a friend. He was a detective with Victoria Police before he retired. If you want, I could ring him. Unofficially. Just to get advice. I looked at my son, at the panic and denial warring in his face. Part of me wanted to protect him, to handle this privately. But Patricia's voice echoed in my mind, something she used to say when Ryan misbehaved as a child. Love isn't letting them escape consequences. Love is helping them face consequences so they learn. Yes, Carmela. Please ring him. Dad, no. Please, just let me talk to Emma. Let me explain. She'll understand. She'll what, Ryan? Apologize? Return money she hasn't stolen yet? Yes. She does. She told me. She loves me. She told me. She loves me. The desperation in his voice was heartbreaking. This wasn't just about money or documents. They'd given him something he'd been starving for. Purpose, connection, hope, and they'd weaponized it. Carmela stepped into the hallway to make her call. I sat down across from Ryan, suddenly feeling every one of my 63 years. Son, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you're feeling right now, this need to defend Emma and Sienna, this certainty that they care about you, that's exactly what they've designed you to feel. It's called manipulation. And it's how these schemes work. They find vulnerable people, people who are lonely or lost, and they make them feel special. They make them feel chosen. But I am special to Emma, the way she looks at me, the things we talk about. Have you met any of her friends, her family? Has she introduced you to anyone from her life outside of what Sienna arranged? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Have you been to her home? She's staying with a friend while she looks for a place. For 3 weeks? Where does this friend live? I don't know exactly. Somewhere in Richmond, she said. And her previous job in Singapore. Which company? A marketing firm. I don't remember the name. Ryan. Listen to yourself. You've given this woman photos of my financial documents. You've paid $4,500. You've committed crimes for her. And you don't know where she lives, where she worked, or anything verifiable about her life. His face was white now, the reality beginning to crack through the denial. Carmela returned. Mr. Graham, my friend Detective Chen, is retired, but he said he'd be happy to come over. He can be here in 30 minutes, he said unofficially, just to assess the situation. Thank you, Carmela. Ryan stood up suddenly. I need to ring Emma. I need to hear her voice. If you ring her now, you'll tip her off that we know. And then she disappears, along with whoever else is involved, and we learn nothing. But, Ryan, I know you don't want to believe this. I know it hurts. But if I'm wrong, if Emma and Sienna are legitimate, then having a retired detective look into it will prove that. And if I'm right, then we need to know what we're dealing with. He slumped back down, defeated. Detective Chen arrived 40 minutes later. He was a solid man in his early 70s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. Carmela had briefed him on the phone, but he asked Ryan to tell the story again from the beginning. Ryan did, haltingly. Chen took notes, asked specific questions about Sienna's office, Emma's background, the payment methods. When Ryan finished, Chen was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Whitmore, with your permission, I'd like to make some calls. I still have contacts in the fraud division. What you're describing fits a pattern we've seen before. What kind of pattern? Identity theft rings that target middle-aged or elderly individuals through their adult children. The structure is always similar. A mentor figure gains trust, introduces a romantic interest. The combination creates intense emotional dependency. The victim doesn't just give information. They actively procure it because they've been convinced it's for a legitimate purpose. How common is this? More than people realize. In 2024, there were over 40,000 reported cases of family member-facilitated fraud in Australia. Most go unreported because families are too ashamed or want to protect the child who was manipulated. Ryan made a sound, almost a whimper. Chen looked at him directly. Son, I've seen this dozens of times. You're not stupid. You're grieving and isolated, and predators can smell that from a mile away. The question now is what you do next. What do you mean? You can keep defending them, let this play out, possibly watch your father lose his life savings. Or you can help us figure out what's really happening and possibly stop them from doing this to other families. How would I do that? Chen looked at me. Mr. Whitmore, this is your call. But if you're willing, we could set something up. Have Ryan continue as if nothing's wrong. Wear a wire to his next meeting with either Sienna or Emma. See what they say when they think they're close to getting what they want. My instinct was to protect Ryan, to keep him out of further involvement. But Patricia's voice again. Consequences and growth. Ryan, what do you think? He looked terrified. If they find out, we'd have police protection, Chen said. This wouldn't be official yet, just information gathering. But it could mean the difference between stopping this or becoming another statistic. What if I'm wrong? What if you're all wrong? And Emma really does care about me? Then she'll have nothing incriminating to say, and you'll have your answer. But son, in my 30 years with Victoria Police, I never once saw a case like this where the romance was real. Ryan was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. Okay. I'll do it. Over the next 3 days, Chen worked with contacts still in the force to put together a plan. They couldn't make it official without evidence of a crime, but they could gather intelligence. They fitted Ryan with a small recording device, taught him how to guide conversations without seeming suspicious. The night of his next session with Sienna, I drove him to Chapel Street. He looked pale, terrified. Dad? What if I mess this up? You won't. Just remember, you're not trying to trap anyone. You're trying to learn the truth. And if the truth is what Chen thinks it is, then we deal with it. Together, he got out of the car, shoulders squared. I watched him enter the building, then drove to a nearby car park where Chen was waiting in his car. The recording device had a range of about 2 kilometers. We could hear everything. Ryan's footsteps echoed in the lobby, then the elevator. 7th floor. The ding as the doors opened. Ryan! Sienna's voice came through clearly. Right on time. Come in. Come in. Hi, Sienna. Thanks for seeing me. Of course. How are you feeling? You sounded stressed on the phone. Yeah, I've been feeling a bit anxious. About the documents, you know. Dad almost caught me last week. Oh no. What happened? He came home earlier than expected. I had to hide everything. It was really close. That must have been frightening. But you handled it well? I think so. But Sienna, I'm starting to wonder if this is the right approach. Maybe. There's another way to help Emma with her funding proof. A pause. Then Sienna's voice, softer, more intimate. Ryan, I understand. You're feeling uncertain. That's completely normal. What Emma's asking isn't easy, but think about what's at stake. This business could change your life. And Emma's life. You two could build something incredible together. I know. But what? Ryan, I've been doing this work for 15 years. I've helped hundreds of young people transition into successful careers. The ones who make it, the ones who really break through, they're the ones willing to do what it takes. The ones who understand that sometimes we have to bend the rules a little to get ahead. Bend the rules? Everyone does it. You think successful people got where they are by following every single regulation? They took risks. Smart risks. In the car, Chen raised his eyebrows. There it is. Grooming language. On the recording, Ryan pressed further. But what if my dad finds out? What if there are legal issues? Legal issues? Ryan, you're simply helping your girlfriend document her business connections. There's nothing illegal about that. And your father? Well, he's from a different generation. He doesn't understand how modern business works. How much does Emma need exactly? She mentioned other documents. Well, ideally, we'd want a complete financial profile. Your father's property deeds, his superannuation details, any investment portfolios. The more comprehensive the documentation, the more impressive it is to potential investors. And then what? After Emma shows them to investors, then Emma secures funding, you both launch the business, and in a year you're looking at six-figure incomes. Ryan, this is your future we're talking about. Yours and Emma's. When do I get to meet these investors? Maybe I could talk to them directly about my father's assets. Another pause, longer this time. That's not really how it works. Emma handles the investor relations. You focus on getting the documentation. It just seems like I'm taking all the risk. Sienna's voice sharpened slightly. Risk? Ryan, Emma is offering you a partnership in a business that could be worth millions. She's offering you a future. What risk are you taking compared to that? I guess you're right. I know I'm right. Look, why don't you come to my actual office for our next session? Suite 712, like I mentioned. I want to show you something that will help you understand the bigger picture. Okay. When? Tomorrow night? 7 o'clock? And bring whatever new documents you've managed to gather. I want to review them. Make sure they're what Emma needs. All right. I'll be there. Excellent. Oh, and Ryan? This conversation, everything we discuss in our sessions, that's confidential. You understand that, right? Coach-client privilege. Yeah, I understand. Good boy. I'll see you tomorrow. The recording captured Ryan leaving, the elevator, his emergence onto Chapel Street. Chen and I waited until he was in the car with us before speaking. How did I do? Ryan asked quietly. You did well, Chen said. She incriminated herself. The language about bending rules, the pressure tactics, the isolation from your father's perspective, that's all evidence of a scam. But she didn't actually admit to stealing. Not yet. But tomorrow night, if you go to Suite 712, I'm betting we find out this goes deeper. They're ready to move to the next phase. I looked at my son. You don't have to do this. We have enough to report them, but not enough to prove they've actually stolen anything. Right? Just that they were trying to manipulate me. Chen nodded. It would be hard to prosecute on what we have so far. They could claim it was all legitimate business advice, taken out of context. Ryan's jaw set. Then I'm going tomorrow night. I want to know what Suite 712 really is. The next evening, Chen brought 2 actual detectives from the fraud squad. They couldn't enter the building without a warrant, but they could position themselves nearby. Ryan wore the recording device again, and this time, I waited with the police in an unmarked car. Ryan entered the building at 6:55, the elevator to the 7th floor. The hallway was quiet. Suite 712 is at the end. Ryan's voice narrated quietly. The door is unmarked. I'm knocking. The door opened. Emma's voice. Ryan. Right on time. Come in. Footsteps. A door closing. Then Emma again. Sienna's just finishing up with someone. She'll be with us in a minute. Did you bring the documents? Some of them. Emma, I need to talk to you about something first. Of course. What is it? This business we're planning. I realized I don't actually know much about it. Can you explain exactly what Catalyst Digital Solutions does? We've been through this, Ryan. Digital marketing, brand consulting, social media strategy. Right. But who are your current clients? We don't have current clients yet. That's why we need the investor backing. And these investors, who are they, Ryan? Why all the questions? You're making me nervous. Oh, wait. Ryan, I'm not trying to. I just want to understand. A longer pause. Then Emma's voice. Different now. Colder. Risking everything? Ryan, you've taken photos of some documents. That's hardly risking everything. My dad could press charges. I could go to jail for identity theft. Don't be dramatic. No one's going to jail. You're helping your girlfriend. That's all. A door opened. Sienna's voice. Emma, is there a problem? Ryan's getting cold feet. I'm not getting cold feet. I'm asking reasonable questions about... Sienna cut him off. Ryan, sit down! The authority in her voice was startling. In the car, one of the detectives leaned forward, listening intently. Ryan, I'm going to be very clear with you now, Sienna said. You've been extremely helpful over the past few weeks. We appreciate that. But you need to understand something. The documents you've provided, the photos, the scans, we already have them. They're already in the hands of people who know how to use them. Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. What? Did you really think we were waiting? Did you think we needed more? Ryan, we have everything we need to access your father's accounts. The only question now is whether you want to be part of what comes next, or whether you want to be left holding the bag. I don't understand, Emma spoke up. It's simple, Ryan. You can either join us, properly, and get your share, or you can walk away. And when your father discovers his accounts have been compromised, the evidence leads straight back to you. You're the one with the lockpicks. You're the one with the photos on your phone. You're the one who's been acting strange. But I'll tell them about you. Both of you, Sienna laughed. Tell them what? That you met a career coach who gave you job advice? That you dated a girl you met at a networking event? Ryan, we barely exist. My lease on this office ends tomorrow. Emma's already got a flight booked to Brisbane. By the time anyone investigates, we're ghosts. But nothing. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, several transfers will be initiated from your father's accounts. They'll move through various channels, ultimately ending up inaccessible. Your father will investigate. He'll find evidence of your involvement, and you'll be the prime suspect. Unless what? Unless you come with us. We have 4 other young men and 2 women working with us across Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. It's profitable. It's relatively safe if you follow the rules. And you'd be amazed how many lonely, grieving people there are with significant assets and vulnerable children. The car went silent, except for the recording. One of the detectives was already on the phone, calling for backup. On the recording, Ryan's voice was shaking. You want me to do to other people what you did to me. We want you to be smart. You're not cut out for corporate work, Ryan. You proved that when you dropped out of university. But you are good at gaining trust, at being likable. That's a valuable skill in our line of work. Your line of work is destroying families. Emma's voice. Sharp. Our line of work is taking from people who have too much and giving to people who have too little. Your father has millions in property and superannuation. He's one person. That money could support a dozen people. We're just redistributing it by lying and manipulating, by being smarter than our targets. Which, let's be honest, isn't hard. Sienna again. Ryan, you have about 30 seconds to decide. Are you in or are you out? In the car, the detective said. We're moving. Backup is 2 minutes away. Ryan's voice came through the recording. Steady now. And you're both under arrest. Confused sounds. Then Emma. What? I said you're under arrest. I've been recording everything. The police are outside. Sudden movement. Crashes. Sienna. You little. Ryan. Don't touch me. More sounds of struggle. Then Ryan shouting. They're trying to leave. The detectives were already running. I followed, my heart hammering. We burst into the building, took the stairs, didn't wait for the elevator. 7th floor, suite 712. The door was open. Inside, chaos. Ryan was on the floor, his shirt torn. Emma was at the window, trying to open it. Sienna was grabbing papers, shoving them into a bag. Police! Nobody move! It was over in seconds. Sienna and Emma were handcuffed. Ryan was helped to his feet by one of the officers. His nose was bleeding, but he was smiling. Did you get it all? The recording? We got it all, son. The next hours were a blur of statements. Evidence collection, phone calls. The suite wasn't an office, it was a storage space converted into a temporary operations center. They found documents from 16 different families, detailed plans for identity theft, airline bookings for 3 people to leave the country in 2 days. Chen pulled me aside while Ryan was giving his statement. Your son did good. Most people, when confronted with sunk costs and emotional investment, they double down. He didn't. He came close, but he didn't. That's what matters. Over the next week, the investigation expanded. Sienna Hart's real name was Sarah Henderson, and she had convictions in 2 other states for fraud. Emma was actually Sarah's niece, Rebecca Henderson, working with her aunt since she was 19. The network of career coaches and romantic interests had defrauded families of over $2 million across Australia in the past 3 years. Ryan's case was complicated. Technically, he'd committed crimes breaking and entering his own home, scanning documents without permission. But he'd also cooperated fully, worn a wire, and helped expose a major fraud ring. The prosecutor decided not to press charges, on the condition that Ryan complete community service and attend counseling. 3 months later, Ryan and I sat in the garden of our Brighton home. It was autumn, the leaves turning gold. Carmela was inside making her famous empanadas, insisting we both needed feeding up. Dad, Ryan said quietly, I've been thinking about getting a job. Have you now? Not through a career coach, obviously. But yeah, I think that sounds excellent. And I've been going to that grief counseling group you found. It helps. Talking about Mum, with people who understand. I'm glad. He was quiet for a moment. Do you ever think about how close it came? If Carmela hadn't been there that night, if she hadn't called you, but she was, and she did. That's what matters. I was so stupid. You were vulnerable. There's a difference. Still, I put my hand on his shoulder. Ryan, your mother used to say something when you were little and did something wrong. She'd say, mistakes are just lessons in uncomfortable clothing. You've learned the lesson. The uncomfortable part is over. He smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from him in months. I miss her. So do I. Every day. But she'd be proud of you now. Not for what you did, but for what you did after. That's what counts. Carmela called us in for dinner. As we stood, Ryan turned to me. Dad, I want to do something with what happened. Detective Chen said I could maybe speak to other families, warn them about these scams. Would that be okay? I think that would be very okay. Inside, the house smelled of home-cooked food and safety. Carmela had set 3 places at the table, as she always did now. She'd become more than a housekeeper these past months. She was family, the person whose instincts had saved us. As we ate, Carmela told stories about her grandchildren, and Ryan talked about his application to the library. And I thought about how quickly everything can fall apart, and how slowly it comes back together, and how sometimes the cracks in our lives let the right people in. Later that evening, after Carmela had gone home and Ryan was in his room, I pulled out the folder Detective Chen had given me. It contained information about fraud prevention, resources for families, warning signs to watch for. I read through it carefully, making notes. The next morning, I made some phone calls. By the afternoon, I had a meeting scheduled with the community center. I was 63 years old, retired, and I had a story to tell. A story about how predators target the vulnerable, how they weaponize loneliness and grief, how they turn children against parents and destroy trust, but also a story about how families can survive, how paying attention matters, how sometimes the people we overlook, the housekeepers, the gardeners, the service workers we interact with daily, see things we miss, and how there's no shame in being targeted, only in refusing to learn from it. 6 months after that night, I gave my first talk at the community center. 35 people showed up. I told them about Ryan, about Sienna and Emma, about how close we came to losing everything. I told them about the warning signs: isolation, secrecy, sudden changes in behavior, requests for financial information, romantic interests who seem too perfect. Ryan spoke too, about what it felt like from the inside, how the manipulation worked, how real it seemed, how even now, months later, he occasionally found himself thinking, but maybe Emma did care a little bit before catching himself. Carmela was in the audience, beaming. She'd brought her sister and 2 of her nieces who worked as housekeepers and nannies. After the talk, one of them came up to me. "Mr. Whitmore, I think I might be seeing something like this with the family I work for. Can we talk?" We did, and it turned out she was right. And we were able to alert them before real damage was done. That became the pattern. Talk after talk. At community centers and retirement villages and parents' groups, Ryan and I, sometimes with Chen, sometimes with other families who'd been targeted, sharing our story, hoping it would save someone else. One evening, a year after that night, Ryan came home from his job at the library looking thoughtful. "Dad, there's someone at work. Sarah. She's new to Melbourne, a bit lost. Really nice. I think I might ask her out for coffee." My heart clenched for a moment, fear flooding back. Ryan saw my face and laughed. "It's okay, Dad. I know the difference now. She's real. She talks about her family, her mates, her annoying flatmate. She invited me to her birthday drinks next week, where I'll meet actual people from her actual life. She doesn't want anything from me except maybe good book recommendations and someone to complain to about difficult library patrons." "That sounds healthy." "It does, doesn't it?" He grinned. "Weird how normal is actually really nice once you remember what it feels like." That night, I stood in my home office, the one where this had all started. The filing cabinet had a new lock now, though I kept less sensitive documents there. I'd learned to digitize things, to have better security, to be more careful, but I'd also learned something else. That love without vigilance is just hope. That trust without verification is just naivety. And that sometimes the worst thing you can do for someone you love is protect them from the consequences of their choices. Ryan had faced consequences. He'd done his community service, attended counseling, rebuilt his life slowly and deliberately. He'd learned that real relationships take time, that real opportunities don't require you to break the law, that real love doesn't ask you to betray your family. And I'd learned that being a good father isn't just providing and protecting. It's also allowing your children to fall, to fail, to face the outcomes of their decisions, and then being there, not to rescue them, but to help them climb back up. The moon was bright through the office window. Somewhere in Melbourne, Sarah Henderson and Rebecca Henderson were in prison, serving 8 and 6 years, respectively. Their network had been dismantled. 16 families had recovered at least some of their losses. But more importantly, those 16 families, and dozens more who'd heard our story, were now aware, vigilant, having conversations with their children about manipulation, about red flags, about when love becomes leverage. I thought about Patricia, about what she would say if she could see us now. Ryan, working steadily, dating carefully, speaking at community events. Me, using my retirement to warn others. Both of us scarred but stronger. She'd probably say something simple and true, the way she always did. Something like, "Well done, both of you. Now keep going." So, that's what we did. We kept going. Watching, learning, helping, healing. And every Tuesday evening, when Carmela came for dinner, we sat together, 3 people bound by the night that almost destroyed us but ended up saving us instead. Because that's the thing about cracks in the foundation. Sometimes they do bring the whole structure down, but sometimes, if you catch them early enough, if you have the right people helping you, if you're willing to do the hard work of repair, sometimes those cracks just become part of the structure. Visible reminders of what almost was, and gratitude for what is. And every time my phone rings unexpectedly now, every time someone says, "Come home now," or "We need to talk," or "Something's wrong," I don't panic anymore. I listen. I assess. I trust my instincts and the instincts of people who've proven they care. Because the real lesson wasn't about fraud or manipulation or identity theft. The real lesson was about paying attention to the people we love, to the people who work alongside our lives, to the moments that feel just slightly wrong. The real lesson was that safety isn't about avoiding all risk. It's about recognizing risk when it appears and having the courage to face it. Ryan taught me that. Carmela taught me that. Patricia, in her absence, taught me that. And now we teach others. One family at a time, one conversation at a time, making sure that what happened to us becomes a warning instead of just another statistic. That's how you turn almost tragedy into purpose. That's how you honor both the people who saved you and the second chance you've been given. You keep going. You help others. You stay vigilant. And you never, ever ignore the housekeeper when she says something's wrong.